Next candidate is Jessee Fleenor, Jessee Fleenor, 5th Congressional District, Democrat.
Yes. Still here, Stephen? Sorry to keep you waiting, buddy. All right, well, good morning, everybody. Good to see you guys. Before I start my prepared remarks, I did want to say, in case people didn't realize, the qualifying fee today to run for the U.S. People's House was over $2,000. That is an affront to the dignity of the American people, all right? Regular people do not have $2,000 laying around to run for Congress, all right? But it's the People's House. So, we're just gonna go ahead and start with these prepared remarks. Like I said, my name is Jessee Fleenor. I am a dairy farmer and a father of 3. And I am here to officially announce my candidacy to represent the incredibly distinctive and diverse communities of Louisiana's 5th Congressional District. Now, in case you haven't noticed, America is in full-blown crisis mode. There are a lot of us who have been doing what we can to push back against this rapid deterioration of goodness by donating to mutual aid networks, delivering food to families too afraid to leave their houses in the state of Louisiana. And yes, by protesting in the streets of this great country against what are some of the grossest abuses of power by the federal government in our modern history. But the job ahead requires much more than what we've done so far. It's going to take more than rallies and donations and speeches, though all of those have their place. And it's going to take more than just raw political work to get our heads back above water. It's going to require healing and forgiveness. It's going to take all types, and it's going to require a majority of the American people to wake up to what is going on around them and being done in their name, and to stand up collectively and say, enough. And look, it's going to be an uphill battle, and there's no guarantee that we will all even live to see redemption. But I have to believe that there is enough goodness left in the American tank to turn our great ship around and point her towards calmer waters. Because here's the thing, you can't expect to be the greatest country in the world if you're run by a bunch of dum-dums. Let that sink in. All right, now, there is no greatness without goodness. But come November 3rd, there is a way to be good again. So, let's speak bluntly. The Nazi Party has taken over America. Now, I know a lot of you don't like me using that word, but here's the thing. If it walks like a duck, if the shoe fits, Cinderella, and these guys are wearing jackboots and masks. So yes, the Nazi Party has taken over the United States of America. And the only question left that matters is, what are we, the people, going to do about it? Now, people love to talk about silent majorities, like there's some giant living in the hillside. But I guarantee you that the majority of the human people in this country don't believe that diversity is a bad word. I'm here to reassure you that the majority of your American neighbors do not want their government killing innocents, tearing apart families, and committing international war crimes. And I'll also tell you this, and be sure to share it far and wide. This complete joke of a Supreme Court may have granted the American president near absolute immunity for all types of illegal and otherwise unconstitutional activity. But that immunity does not extend to any of his Nazi high command. From Jefferson Davis Vance all the way down to the lowliest elementary school dropout of an ICE foot soldier. Now, our home state is so incredibly vibrant and distinctive, world-renowned for our music and food and a culture of hospitality and diversity. But all that is being vitally threatened by an actual official far-right white nationalist reactionary party, colloquially known as the Nazis. For example, our great and powerful governor, Jeff Landry, who has just been appointed the Fuhrer's special representative in Greenland, which of course makes sense because Louisiana and Greenland are otherwise so similar. Old Jeff is desperately hoping to become the first white nationalist since old Adolf to forcibly take over parts of Denmark. Or take, again, Jefferson Davis Vance. To have an American vice president who once called his boss America's Hitler, to then go to actual Germany and officially deride our NATO allies for not allowing far-right reactionary nihilists like himself to gain power again, less than 100 years since World War II, is actually more than a little bit batshit crazy. All right? It's near catastrophic. It's not an overstatement to suggest that were T-Dump and his army of toilets to get their way in Greenland, the world order we have known since World War II will have officially collapsed under the weight of American fascism. And we will all have to live with the consequences of living in a world no longer governed by laws or good ideas, but rather by crypto bros who weren't hugged enough as children, never really read any books, and cheered for the Empire during the Star Wars movies. To put it bluntly, the worst people possibly in all of world history are now running the most powerful country in all of world history. So what could possibly go wrong? We need to move from spectacle back to sanity. We need to shift away from ass clowns like Jackboot Vance and back to real Americans, like the Mexican immigrants who pick your food, or the third and fourth generation Irish immigrants who fix your car, or the Japanese immigrants who roll your sushi. That is the real America. Now, it was my great-grandfather who brought my family from Ireland to New Orleans. And every single one of you, has a similar but distinct story of your own. Your own flesh and blood coming to this new land from a faraway place. Almost always arriving poor and unwanted, cast off by homelands in crisis and a world in constant flux. But here's the thing. There is only really one type of person. A human person. Thank you. And all humans deserve access to the necessities of life. And in this world of such abundance, where one single person is about to own a full $1 trillion, we can afford to give everyone a life of dignity. We can. Filled with community support, from the bottom up and the top down, all across the spectrum, we will create the conditions for good people to flourish in this country. Now, to speak on faith. I spent 12 years in Louisiana Catholic schools. My kids go to public school. And for a time, I did seriously contemplate a life in the priesthood. So it is with a heavy heart when I say Christianity is in crisis. And Christ is running for the hills. The center is collapsing, and God has gone silent. When the racists and the bigots and the crypto bros are the loudest members of your faith is on life support. I will tell you without reservation or shame that I am in a crisis of faith. I tell my children the great story of the humble carpenter who surrounded himself with the poor and the sick and the socially discarded, and who preached only radical peace, extreme generosity, universal health care, and individual dignity, and who wouldn't be caught dead in the company of Hegseth, Vance, or any other fake Christian using the Lord's name to justify wealth and brutality. The least Christian people in the world are those most obsessed with toughness and lethality. And the least moral people in America are those obsessed with dictators like Donald pedophile Trump. This sexual predator of a man was mentioned 38,000 times in the Jeffrey Epstein files. More than any other individual. 38,000 times. So, if you are still today in support of Donald pedophile Trump, you are officially and forever a fan of child rape. Now, Jesus said to trust the children. And it turns out children cry when you permanently rip their parents away from their lives. And what? All over documentation. Is that who we are now? We tear established families apart over paperwork violations? Is that what we're doing? Is that what Jesus would do? No, it is not. So let me say this as clear as a bell. If you support the way ICE is conducting themselves right now, smashing windows, snatching kids, killing innocents, then you are not getting into heaven. Let me repeat. If you support human parents and children being permanently separated over paperwork violations, you are going to hell. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. But I'm here to tell you the good news as well, that there is still time to turn it around and repent. Forgiveness is a real thing. Goodness is a real thing. And on November 3rd, there is a way to be good again. Now, we need not dabble in false equivalency for there to be good lessons to learn on both sides. New perspectives are valuable even when we don't adopt them as our own. And if we are in perfect agreement with everyone in our tent, then our tent is not big enough. That being said, if there are actual white nationalists and pedophiles in your tent, you may want to find a new tent. So the problem with the Blake Miguez's of the world is that their lips are sealed and their ideas vacated by a party and an administration beholden to a single trashy authoritarian pedophile who somehow thinks core American ideals such as inclusion, equality, and diversity are four-letter words. So for anyone who's got it twisted, let's all be as clear as day on this point. Diversity fucking rocks. Diversity is the secret sauce that has allowed America to create so much that is new and good and distinct and original. Diversity is what created rock and roll and allowed us to put a man on the moon. Diversity gave America both the Grateful Dead and the Wu-Tang Clan. Diversity put sushi in the malls and Bad Bunny in the Super Bowl. Diversity is what has saved this nation at the worst of times, and it is only through the strength of our diversity that we have any chance to climb out of this shitty mess. And look, here's the thing that liberals won't say out loud. If the consequences weren't so severe, Donald Trump would be hilarious. All right? I mean, when he says, we've cut drug prices by 1,200, 1,300, 1,500%. I don't mean 50%, I mean 1,500%. That would be hilarious. That would be hilarious. Except that it shows that the man most in charge of the most powerful country in the world has no idea how numbers work. Right? And that's a scary proposition. Or when he says that Denmark has no right to own Greenland because, quote, we landed boats there too. That would be hilarious. If the consequences weren't so severe, but some of the consequences have been downright catastrophic. And look, my daddy always told me that even a broken clock is right twice a day, all right? And so I'll give credit where credit is due. This idea of capping credit card interest rates at 10% is a fantastic idea, all right? The Jamie Dimons of the world be damned. But it doesn't add up to a coherent strategy when you are already cutting food stamps and Medicaid and giving trillion-dollar tax breaks to your billionaire buddies. No, it doesn't. No. America needs a set of coherent policies that actually address the myriad crises we face as a nation. We need to increase the minimum wage for the first time in 17 years. From just over $7 US per hour worked to something no less than 16. Yes, a full doubling of the minimum wage. We need to protect American children from pedophiles like Donald Trump and Howard Lutnick and Elon Musk and all the other billionaires in the Jeffrey Epstein friend circle. We need to finally and forever establish single-payer health care so that every human with a physical body in this country can receive medical help whenever they need it. Period. Period. No line skipping, no special billionaire packages. We need to encourage immigration and support a full pathway to citizenship for those who have been living and working here for years and years. We need to make sure and prioritize families. Finally putting our money where our mouth is, supporting affordable child care and family leave policies that make having children less of a financial hardship on prospective parents. We need to encourage the formation and strengthening of workers' unions and help them to wrench power back from the billionaires and the bosses. More than anything, we need to reclaim our sense of what it means to be American, to embrace the better angels of our nature and reestablish that shining city on the hill, rather than trying to corrupt the world into submission. Now, none of this is going to come easy, but I still believe there is a way back from the edge. I have to believe it. But it's going to take actual work on all of our parts to repair what has been broken. And it's not just political work I'm talking about. It's going to take emotional work on the part of each and every one of us who can imagine a better world. It's going to take forgiveness and compassion and emotional intelligence. Too often, a kind of knee-jerk political reaction has become pervasive and automatic in a way that shuts down discussion, shuts down debate, and indeed is shutting down our democracy, as each side tries ever harder to silence dissent and overpower their neighbors through closed minds and brute force. But brutality is not the way to the promised land. Selfishness and deception will not get us where we are trying to go. So, if you trust me with your vote in November, I give you my solemn vow that whatever decisions I make or votes I take will not be based on pressure from one community or another. They will not be based on some predetermined ideological stance. All of the policy decisions I make will be based on, first, compassion, logic, reason, a willingness to try new things, and an ability to admit when I'm wrong. I commit my loyalty to the state of Louisiana and to these rural river parish communities where I've had the great honor and privilege to grow up, run my business, and raise my children. So, for all of us looking for a way forward, for American heroes like Alex Preddy and Renee Good, for our beloved immigrant friends and neighbors, for Greenland and our NATO allies who all came to our defense after September 11th, and for the estimated 14 million otherwise preventable human deaths that will occur by the end of this decade due to the closure of USAID. People of goodwill can no longer afford to stand on the sidelines. It is for this reason I'm officially announcing my candidacy for Louisiana's 5th Congressional District. America stands on the precipice, but I believe we can come back together as one people. There is no greatness in cruelty and aggression, and there is no greatness without goodness. But come November 3rd, there is a way to be good again. May God help us, but let's get out there and do the heavy lifting just in case he doesn't show up. God bless each of you, and God bless the state of Louisiana. Thank you, guys.